kamighimo langit sikoy ko kamighimo taado ay bulan ikaw ang nagbuhat sa kabituunan ikaw ang nagbuhat sa kalibutan manama mawantog ka warag po ko ilingkoy ko o Diyos kahibulungan ka busa ikaw lang ang simbahon ko
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم اجمع شمل المسلمين والكريستيان والأمة في مدينة دماو وسلم دائما مجتمعنا هذا بالسلم والأمن والتقدم في بلدنا هذا آمين يا رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times we have offended you, when we forget to acknowledge your presence in the image of our brothers and sisters, and for moments we fail to be good stewards of the blessings you have given us. Continue to guide and protect each one of us, Lord, that we may always walk in the lights of your everlasting love and mercy. Grant us, Father, with your comfort in times of distress and with your strength in times of weakness. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with the prayer and the intercession of our Blessed Mother. Amen.
manama mawantog ka warag po ko ilingkoy ko o Diyos kahibulungan ka busa ikaw lang ang simbahon ko busa ikaw lang ang alagaran ko
Ayan, magandang umaga po sa ating mga viewers all over the country, our mathematics teachers and other teachers around the country. Magandang umaga po. Welcome to our 11th episode of Casio Tech session, spearheaded by Educational Technology Unit in partnership with Casio Calculators Philippines. And today we'll be discussing about mathematics investigation webinar with the aid of Casio computing tools, the world by the numbers. And on this particular webinar, we will be discussing forensic science, mathematics model, and real-life mystery cases. To formally introduce to us our speaker and to discuss something about our topic this morning, let us all welcome from Tinejeros, our teacher from Tinejeros National High School, a junior high school mathematics teacher, Mr. Hiljon Basa. Good morning, Sir Hiljon. Let's wait for Sir Hiljon. So I think we're just having some technical problems with Sir Hiljon. So I think this is a special webinar session conducted by Casio Calculators and Educational Technology Unit. I think it is an adaptation of a particular webinar held in Australia, something like that. So to formally introduce our speaker and to get to know about our topic this morning, let's all welcome back Mr. Hildion Basa. Good morning, sir.
Good morning po, sir. Hindi po nakikita
Yes,
yung
sir.
camera ko.
Wala po.
Wait lang po.
Okay. So, ayun nga po, while waiting for Sir Hildion, so I think this is our 12th episode and medyo marami ang nag-aabang sa atin this morning kasi we will be having a double header this day. We will be having our session with Mr. Reynaldo Torres at 10 o'clock to 12 noon. And then later this afternoon at 3 p.m., we'll be having another session with Engineer JD. So, full pack at siksik, liglig at nag-uumapaw na naman po ang ating session today. And let's all welcome back Mr. Hildion Basa. Good morning, sir.
Good morning po. And okay, good day to all math students, math enthusiasts who are watching today. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for this session. He finished his Bachelor of Science degree in Mathematics at Polytechnic University of the Philippines. He also graduated in MA Mathematics at the National Teachers College, being a National MTOP Scholar. He is an MTOP awardee, a trainer, writer, and speaker in different math talks. Let's all witness my idol, master, and the legendary tech teacher of Casio Philippines. So let's all welcome Mr. Reynaldo C. Torres Jr.
Hello, good morning. Thank you, Hiljon.
Good
Good morning,
morning,
everyone.
sir.
Ayan po. Today po, I am assigned to discuss po, ayun nga po, a material coming from Casio, Italy. So, foreign na foreign po ang ating topic. But since this is a reality po, no? So, this is set up for real world, na lalo na yung mga stories and mga cases. So, pwede po siyang ma-apply pa rin dito sa atin sa Pilipinas, of course. But before that, kindly invite po yung iba pa po nating friends, lalo po yung mga math enthusiasts po natin. Kasi mamaya po may papremyo si Sir Joel, no? Pinramis niya po sa akin yun kagabi na mamimigay po siya ng GCash prizes po. So, I think yung isang sinabi niya sa akin is 500 pesos yata na GCash prize. No? So, yun po. So, later, no, pag nag-queue in na ako ng pagsagot ninyo, yung makapagbigay ng tamang sagot ay magkakaroon ng prizes coming from Casio Philippines. So, yun po. So, isisend po yung through GCash. Ayan. So, ang prizes, okay. Ayan, nag-chat na sa akin si Sir Joel. Okay, ang sabi niya po, mamimigay nga po siya. Kinonfirm niya nga po na mamimigay po siya ng ng ayun, GCash loan. Ayan. So, coming from Casio Philippines po. Ayan. So again, yung material po na i-discuss natin is from Casio Italy. But I think we can still apply this here in our setup po in the Philippines. Okay. So start with, I'm gonna share po my presentation. Ayan. So, ayan po. This is just the part 1. So there will be a part 2. It will be announced soon, no, in the Casio Education Philippines page. So the title is The World by the Numbers. This is a mathematics investigations webinar with the aid, of course, of the Casio technology. The topics that is embedded in this webinar are 3 things, no? Yung forensic science, mathematical modeling, and of course, the real life cases that we somehow, no, parang we wanted to try to solve, no? Again, this is from, the material came from Casio, Italy po. Ayan. So, to start with, let's have the introduction, no? The subject forensic science, which these educational activities are linked, is an specific discipline that may not be seen integrated in our curriculum. No? Hindi naman talaga siya naka-integrate, lalo-lalo na sa high school, hindi po siya naka-integrate. No? But the rationale behind why Casio Italy and the education sector in Italy tried to integrate forensic science is that they also wanted to feature the application of mathematics to the different fields, no, to the different fields. For example, in biology, in economics, engineering, physics, no. Kasi usually ang direct application na alam natin, no, of mathematics is of course is engineering, no. Kasi sabi nga niya, pag kukuha ka ng engineering courses, sobrang daming math, no. So this is not the case. Actually, mathematics is present in our everyday living, no? So kahit sa ang aspect ng buhay natin, present talaga si math. So hindi siya talaga mawawala from day zero, no? From the ano 'yun? Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning, no? So first 3 words sa Bible sa Genesis, in the beginning. So from there, magbibilang ka na kaagad in the beginning. So parang day 0 yun, di ba? Or day 1 pala. So day 1. So magbibilang ka na agad. So there is math already. So yun siya, no? Talagang mathematics is really embedded in our daily lives, no? Kahit minsan hindi lang natin na-recognize, minsan hindi lang natin napapansin, pero talagang embedded na yung math sa buhay natin. So, yun nga, that's the reason of Casio Italy, why they integrated forensic science. No, parang ma-integrate din for them to see that forensic science is also using mathematics, no, especially in solving cases. No, yun siya. Okay. Forensic science. Forensic science is the application of scientific techniques and methodology to traditional investigations of a judicial nature. Forensic pathology, toxicology, genetics, psychology, criminology, anthropology, IT, entomology, and naturally, of course, math can be decisive when solving the most complex investigative cases. Thanks to the development and the degree of accuracy progressively obtained from such disciplines, no, so yung number of cases in Italy, no, has increased solved cases solved, no, sa Italy over the years has increased compared to the past figures. So kaya ito rin yung nakitang reason nila why they wanted to integrate, no, forensic sciences. I think this will also be magki-click din sa atin dito sa Pilipinas. Why? Because doon sa isang TV program, so si Cardo kasi, no, masyadong sumikat lately, no. Kahit na nag-off-air na yung kanyang station, pero somehow it made an impact, no, si Cardo. So maraming nangangarap na maging mga pulis, no, dahil kay Cardo. And kahit naman sa mga estudyante ko, if somehow, no, nagkakaroon kami ng informal na usapan, what do you wanna be in the near future? They always say, gusto kong magpulis, sir, so I'm gonna take criminology. So minsan naman sabihin, basta sir, walang math. So sasabihin ko, talaga, halos lahat naman ng course. No, lahat ng courses may math naman. Sabi niyo, sir, yung minimal lang na math. Kaya nga po, mag-crim kasi minimal lang ang math. So, not knowing Na lalo kapag ikaw yung ma-assign sa crime scene, no? At lalo kapag magso-solve ka ng cases, you will also be using mathematics, no? So to really parang solidify your evidences. So yun siya. Okay. This is the first question, no? Na ating mamimigay ng prizes si Sir Joel. So, ang Casio Philippines rather. Okay. So, the question will be this one. What is the first ever product of Casio? Ayan, ulitin ko, my cash prize, it will be sent through GCash, I think. No, bahala si Sir Joel kung paano niya send yung o yung prizes. So, what is the first ever product of Casio? So, yung unang makapag-comment ng tamang sagot, siya po ang bibigyan natin ng prize. So, ayan. Ayan. So, good morning po ulit sa lahat. Ayan, mukhang madami nang nag-good morning sa atin. Calculator daw. Ayan, may nag-comment na. Calculator daw. So, hindi po. Ayan, hindi po. Wristwatch po. So, hindi rin. Sapatos, edi meow. Clue. Clues. Medyo hindi siya related sa alam nyo today na products ni Casio. Ayan. So, may nagko-comment pa. Okay. So, hindi po siya calculator. Ayan. Good morning po ulit. So, ayan. Habang nag-aantay tayo na ng mga responses at saka ng mga sige, magbabati lang muna tayo sa ilang mga friends natin, mga ibang mga friends. Ayan, may nakita na akong tamang sagot. Ayan, no? May nakita na akong tamang sagot. So, wave lang tayo muna sa nakatamang sagot. So, ayan siya. Bahala na, no? Ayan, tatlo na yung nakikita kong nagsabi na kaya lang yung first, sabi ko kanina yung first na makakapagbigay ng tamang sagot, siya yung mananalo ng cash prize natin. Okay. Sige. Medyo madami na nagsagot, no? So, later, basta sasabihin po namin kung sino nanalo later, no? Si Sir Joel. Kukontakin po ni Sir Buzz, ni Sir Joel, no? Kung paano nyo po mabibigay yung contact details para po sa inyong prize. So, ayun pa, electric calculator, camera, no? So, sige lang po. Ayan, cigarette holder, battery, wristwatch, ayan. So, reveal na natin ang tamang sagot. So, the first ever product po ni Casio is, ayan, new Biwa pipe, the first invention of Tadao Casio, the founder of Casio. It was useful for Japanese workers because they could use both hands while smoking. So this is the first ever na product ni Casio. Okay, finger ring. Okay, ring. So, sa bagay, ring naman kasi naman talaga siya. Pero it's actually a pipe. Okay po. Now, bakit ito ang aking unang question for premyo? Kasi I want you to, think of this one. Think of this one. What do you see in the image? Of course, in the image, nakalagay dyan no smoking sign. But what it comes with the image? No? So what is in the image? Sige nga po. So no smoking sign. So ayan although sinabi ko kanina yung first na product ni Casio is pipe na ginagamit for cigarette smoking. So I will still say that cigarette smoking is bad and dangerous to your health. Ayan po. Kaya ito sumunod the picture ko is no smoking sign. And the question will be now, what do you see in the image? So ayan. So tingnan natin sa comment box kung ano yung nakikita nila sa image. Tingnan natin kung may magsasagot. O ayan, merong hindi nakapaniwala. Oh wow, now I know. So hello sa mga nag-aantay ako ng responses sa comment section natin ng what do they see in the image. Okay, bati muna tayo sa mga friends natin. Hello to the math teachers po all over the Philippines, especially yung mga classmates ko po sa MTAP. No po, ayan po. And special thanks to Sister Iluminada Coronel sa lahat po ng tulong po sa amin. Of course, kasama niya ang iba pong MTAP board during that time na nag-aaral po kami. Okay. Integral sign daw, smoke pipe. Ayan, yan yung mga sagot nila doon sa image natin. Integral sign na medyo nakahiga. Ayan. So, medyo iba sila, no? Iba-iba. Ayan, maganda yung mga responses natin kasi iba-iba. Cigarette, pipe ring. Ito siguro yung sagot nila po nung kanina pa na picture natin. So, pero dito, no, ang sabi nilang iba, Okay, cigarette. O, yan. Pipe. Okay. So, bakit ito yung gusto kong tinanong? Bakit ito yung question ko? Bakit kaya? Why? Because let us try to reflect in a conversation of a girl and a male person. So, ito po yung conversation nila. The girl turned towards Paulo. How is it not a pipe? Yun po yung picture kanina na pinakita ko po. No? Ito pong picture po na ito. So, ito yung pinag-usapan nila ni Paulo at saka ng girl. Sabi po ni girl, how is it not a pipe? What is it then? Do you mean that this is referring to something else? That the pipe symbolizes something? Sagot ni Paulo, no, no. The issue is far more earthy. The object that we can see in the picture is not a pipe. If it were, we would be able to hold it in our hands and see all the sides of it in different perspectives. If that thing there really were a pipe, we would be able to smoke it. So obviously, it's not a pipe, but rather the representation of a pipe. That's so logical, sabi nung babae, no? Sabi ng girl na kausap ni Paolo. Of course, that's exactly the point that I wanted to reach. A similar situation to that of the pipe is presented with theories and models from physics. From the reality of the experiment, we obtain indications, prohibitions, and numbers, and based on these, we build or modify the model of physical reality. Model? Do you mean a more or less suitable representation? A bit like this pipe being the representation of a real pipe? Exactly. So, yun siya, no? So, syempre, pag pinakita yung image, sasabihin nyo, that's a pipe, no? That's a pipe. Oh, talaga naman, no? That's the picture of a pipe. But it's not really a pipe. So pag tinanong kayo, oh, ano yung nakita nyo sa picture? Pipe. So, parang sinasabi ni Paulo nung mali. Dapat, sabi niya, kompleto dapat yung sagot mo, no? Dapat, it's just an image or a model or a representation of a pipe. Kasi kung pipe daw siya, no, mahahawakan mo siya, makikita mo lahat ng kanyang makikita mo lahat ng kanyang dimensions, no? Tapos magagamit mo pa daw siya. So, yun yung sinasabi ni Paulo, yun yung argument ni Paulo. So, that's only an argument, a representation of the real life ng pipe. So, bakit yun? Bakit ko shinare yung story na yan? Bakit ko shinare yung story na yan? Ito po kasi yun. Mathematical model. No? What is mathematical model? A mathematical model is the formal representation of ideas or knowledge regarding a phenomenon. Okay, bakit yun yung picture na ginamit ko sa mathematical model? Kasi yun yung argument din natin, no? Ang estudyante natin laging sinasabi, ano ba talaga ang application ng math sa buhay natin, sir? Ano ba talaga? Ang dami nilang tanong, hindi ko na po magagamit ang math, sir. Bakit ko pa siya aralin? No, hayaan mo nang bumagsak-bagsak na lang ako sa math. So, no. It's actually, marami siya talagang gamit, no? Yung math natin sa totoong buhay. Hindi lang talaga natin na-realize. No? And the same idea dun sa argument ni Paulo at saka ni girl doon sa idea of representing pipe, no? Representation of the pipe lang yung nandun sa picture, just image of the pipe. So kapag gumagawa rin tayo ng mga for example sa word problems, 'di ba nagre-represent tayo ng equations. Those are actually mathematical models lang nung situation na ating ginagawa. No, ating tinatry na isolve na word problems. So, ganun siya. So, ayan. So, hello din po. No? Hello din po sa aking classmate ng college, Sir Rogelio Enriquez from Quezon City. Ayan po. So, yun siya. Yun po siya, no? Yun po yung ginagawa. Hindi lang natin, hindi lang ma-realize masyado ng mga estudyante natin na yung mga real life problems na sinusolve natin using math, sa mga topics natin from mathematics. Hindi nila alam that we are having mathematical models of the real life situations or scenarios that we are having. No? Kaya minsan hindi talaga nila ma-appreciate. No? Of course, especially sa mga public school teachers, di ba? Lalo nung meron pa tayong face-to-face setup. Di ba sa classroom observation natin, there is one there is one, tawag dito, strand there, yung parang ini-scorean sa'yo, na paano mo, tawag dito, paano mo ituturo yung isang topic. Okay? Kung paano mo i-share sa estudyante yung isang topic. Di ba? Ang ginawa ko doon, ang ginagawa ko doon mostly, lately, especially last year, no? Magkukuha ko ng mga videos. For example, sa grade 7, ang topic ko is inequalities. Linear equation in one variable. Mali. Ang inequalities nga. Linear inequality in one variable. Let's say x nga. So, of course, masyadong abstract siya pag sinabi mo na plus x plus something should be less than this one. So masyado siyang abstract. Wala ibig sabihin no? Actually, ang ginawa ko to introduce the linear inequality in one variable is that nag-video ako na tumatawid ako sa tulay. And then, finocus ko yung camera doon sa label doon sa bridge. No? Di ba may nakalagay doon halimbawa 20t, so that means 20 tons. So ibig sabihin, yun yung weight limit na kaya ni bridge. So ibig sabihin, 20 tons yung weight limit, hindi ka na pwedeng lumagpas sa 20 tons or else masisira na, magkakaroon na ng crack yung bridge, no? Or kung sobrang bigat pa na, sobrang tindi pa na, mas mabigat pa sa 20 tons, for example, 50 tons na yung tatawid, no? Higit pa sa doble. Of course, talagang babagsak at guguho na yung bridge. Okay. So, ibig sabihin, there is a limit, no? It should be less than 20 tons. Now, let's say, yung truck, cargo truck. Let's say, sabihin natin, kapag walang laman yung truck, sabihin natin, ano ba ang usual ng bigat ng truck? O sige, sabihin natin, hindi ko alam kung ano yung totoong sukat ng truck that time. Kalimutan ko na yung yung COT ko noon. Okay. So, yung laman, for example, wala lang laman ng truck, it weighs, sabihin natin na 148, parang masyado. 2,400 plus na kilograms. Okay. Yung truck. Siyempre, yung ikakarga mo kay truck, siya yung nababago-bago. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung bigat ng ilalagay mo doon sa truck. So, yun yung represent mo ng variable. Let's say x. So, x plus yung weight ng truck nang wala siyang laman, so that will be 2,400 plus na kilograms. Should be less than, of course, 20 tons. So, this is the mathematical representation, the mathematical model of that situation, of that certain situation. So, important talaga yung mathematical model. So, that's how I introduced yung topic ko na linear inequality in one variable. So, di ba? At least, somehow, you try to connect the reality of the world dun sa topic na i-discuss mo. Okay po? So, ayun po. So, that's the mathematical model. No? And then, the definition dito na pinresent na mathematical model is a formal representation of ideas or knowledge regarding a phenomenon. There are three fundamental points that should be gathered. First, a mathematical model is the representation of a phenomenon. O nga po, yung pangyayari. Secondly, such a representation is not discursive or in words, but formal. It is namely expressed in mathematical language. For example, nga nang sinabi ko kanina, you have presented an equation. And then, third, no direct route exists from the reality to mathematics. The phenomenon studied does not determine its mathematical representation. What you do instead is to translate ideas and knowledge about a phenomenon into formulas. So, yun siya. No? And, di ba, sinasabi natin usually, ang pinakamalapit na, na application daw ng math sa realidad ay lagi daw puro sa statistics. Kasi yung probability, yung mga prediction, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Pero actually, kahit yung ibang topics po natin sa math, ay meron po talaga siyang application. No? So, mamaya po, meron po ulit tayo mga baka po kasi para may nababasa akong comments kanina, nasasal sila kasi Tapos, meron pa po ulit tayong prices. So, meron pa pong dalawa. Okay po, meron pa pong dalawa. So, wait po tayo mamaya ulit doon. Okay, so next. Okay, so this is our first case that we wanted to discuss. So, may tanong ako dito. No? So, dun ulit natin kukunin yung mananalo ng second na mananalo na tao, na person. Okay, the first case. The title of the first case that we'll be presenting will be the Cartesian Campus. So this is actually a group activity, no? So kapag face-to-face lalo, naku, mas masaya to lalo kung face-to-face na, kung may balik na tayo ng face-to-face. Okay, so for now, no, let's try to observe this one. So this is the teamwork, no? Pag sinabi din ng teamwork, thematical, ibig sabihin parang may situation siya, no? So you are trying to set the mood. Okay, we are trying to set the mood of the situation, no, na presented here. Okay. In the following activity, the linear relationship that exists between the diameter of a drop of blood and the height from which it fell is studied, and whether a graphical representation of it can be established. The themes addressed make reference to analytic geometry and to the representation of straight lines on the Cartesian plane. So, ito po yung gagamitin natin na mathematical, no, concepts sa ating pag-solve ng first case. Okay, so what we'll be needing? Okay, kit materials. The kit is designed per work group, which may be made up of 3 and 5 students or 3 to 5 students at teacher's discretion. So, of course, si teacher ang mamimili, no? And then, of course, our featured calculator, 991EX scientific calculator. Okay. So this is the phases time required. No? Presentation of the activity, introduction to the story, and first working hypothesis. So 1 hour. And then second preparatory activity, BPA analysis. So mamaya as discuss natin kung ano yung BPA analysis. 1 hour and 30 minutes. And then third, solving the case. It's another 1.5 hours. Okay. So, let's have the first case. So, syempre, setting up the mood. Explain mo kung ano yung nangyari. Okay, the Cartesian Campus. Okay, this is our first case. Once Sandra finished her studies, she immediately found a job at the investigative division in her city. She had been working there for 4 years, but her role was still to support more senior colleagues. It seemed as if her superiors didn't trust her, and she found this very demoralizing. The explanations given to her were not enough. In order to be a detective, you need a great deal of experience. Be patient, your turn will come. Okay. Entering her boss's office, she immediately noticed a file on the desk. The University Campus Serial Thief. So, from the title itself, so alam niyo na yung mga, alam na. So, mga kamag-anak ni, ayun. 3 months ago, she had been entrusted with her first case, and now she had to prove that she had what it takes. Her predecessor in the investigations, 2 years earlier, had now retired, but had, however, been able to pass on all the information to her. Unfortunately, though, despite careful reading and further investigations, she had not yet come to any conclusions. The most important information on which she was working lay on the desk, and mentally she went over the incident for the umpteenth time. Okay. Ito po yung kanyang file, yung nasa file. Okay, ito na po yung nasa kanyang nakita niyang file doon sa desk ng kanyang boss. The story began 2 years earlier at the new university campus, an area just outside the city for students and professors working in different scientific fields, from physics to biology, mathematics, and neuroscience. Neuroscience daw, okay. The modern structure covers a vast area, organized into small buildings housing 1 or 2 laboratories and associated offices. These buildings are positioned regularly along straight paths and at right angles to each other in accordance with a very practical location grid. No? So, eto pa lang, no, parang sinasabi na kaagad na nasa Cartesian plane ka kasi positioned regularly along straight path and at right angles. O di ba? Alam naman natin pag sa Cartesian plane, the lines are perpendicular to each other. Okay. So, sineset up mo na yung mood, no, na we are really having a representation of a Cartesian plane. Each one of these buildings is, in fact, indicated by a pair of progressive numbers originating from the entrance to the campus, where the reception is located labeled 0 and 0. So from there, no, lalo na solidify yung ating claim that it is really a Cartesian plane. No? Tapos, no, yung where the reception area is located na naka-label na 0, 0. Di, alam mo na agad na yung reception area is the origin in the Cartesian plane. In practice, the planners had reproduced a Cartesian plane in honor of Descartes. Kasi nga sa Italy siya, di ba? No, yung setup niya sa Italy. So, in honor of René Descartes, a great scientist. The thefts and unfortunately a homicide had occurred within the space of 2 years. So within 2 years nangyari yung mga crime. And the thief had struck without leaving many traces or any clues on purpose, almost wanting to challenge whoever was trying to investigate. The way in which the crimes had been carried out indicated that the thief was almost certainly the same person and that they therefore fell into serial criminal category. Kasi nga, so sobrang dami na yung pangyayari and then they were able to observe na isang tao lang yung gumagawa. Kaya they were able to conclude that it's a serial criminal category. Kasi isang tao lang. Okay, next. These are the happenings, yung parang chronological events. First, the first steps took place during the night of January 23, 2013. The genetics and nuclear physics laboratories were targeted, and a pathogenic bacteria culture and a container of radioactive liquid were stolen from them. 2 female researchers were found collapsed, but without any injuries in the laboratories, of course. Both had been knocked out in their respective laboratories with ether. Clues. Ano daw yung clue from that scene? Wala. Okay, so no trace of any clue. The second robbery took place during the evening of April 22, 2013. A researcher from the Department of Mathematics was found unconscious in his office in Mathematics building. The crime had been carried out in the same way, struck in the back and a gauze soaked in ether. A file containing a study on a cryptographic algorithm that the researcher had been developing for a large bank was stolen. Oh, may clue na naiwan. A pair of footprints in the garden beside the building, from which the police scientists had concluded that the killer could be tall and well-built. Ayan, so medyo may clue na naiwan. Next. The third crime took place during the evening of March 15, 2014. The unconscious bodies were found in the photonics and geology building. The victims were a cleaning attendant and a professor of the department, both female. The crime had been carried out in the same way, ether. A high-powered laser developed by the Photonics Research Group and a diamond crystal from a professor's office were stolen. So, meron ulit clue. Ano yung clue? A recording from CCTV showed that in the hour leading up to the robbery, a short person had quickly passed through the Department of Photonics, but nobody else. Okay. In the fourth event naman, sa fourth na crime, the fourth robbery occurred during the morning of December 27, 2014. Ano yung na-stole? Ano yung nawala? Stolen? A ceramic superconductor developed by the physics laboratory and secret experimental protocols for in vitro growth of skin cells to treat burns. Wala ulit iniwan na traces, so no clues. Okay. Naulit. Finally, during December 31, 2014, the campus janitor was found dead at the entrance to the campus in the reception area. The homicide was attributed to the same person because a gauze with traces of ether was found a few meters from the corpse. The janitor probably managed to free himself from the thief's clutches, but then got caught up in an unfortunate brawl. As he was falling, the janitor hit his head on the floor and died from an internal hemorrhage. Ano yung clue na iniwan? Some blood stains on the floor close to the victim's body and on the reception desk. Okay. The file contained photographs of the blood stains, and the scientific report stated, close to the corpse, there is a group of blood stains on the tiled flooring in the reception. They are round and regular in shape, with an average diameter of 1.6 centimeters. There are some blood stains at progressively greater distances, aligned in a direction from the corpse from the corpse toward the reception desk, a couple of meters away. Again, round and regular in shape, with an average diameter of 2.3 centimeters. On the reception desk, a height of 80 centimeters from the ground, bloodstains are scattered close to the switch to open the doors and are again round and regular in shape, with an average diameter of 1.8 centimeters. There were bloodstains on the victim's knuckles. From DNA analysis, it emerged that they were not consistent with the victim's blood. So, hindi yon yung dugo ng victim. However, they were consistent with the bloodstains on the floor. So, medyo mag-iisip ka na doon, di ba? Finally, a type sheet was found on the reception counter, which, for the first time, explicitly set a challenge for the investigators. It read, anyone who has been misled by the simple evidence is wrong. Where will I strike next time? Will you be clever enough to follow me? I will strike where the straight lines meet, but it is the whole that you must consider. So, naghahamon pa yung ating suspect, no? Yung gumawa ng crime, rather. Hindi pala siya suspect. So, siya mismo yung gumawa ng crime. Naghahamon siya doon sa taong gusto daw na huhuli sa kanya. Ulitin natin yun. Okay. Anyone who has been misled by simple evidence is wrong. Where will I strike next? Will you be clever enough to follow me? Ito yung clues, the important clues from the phrase. I will strike where the straight lines meet. So, parang nagkakaroon ka na ng idea na it will be intersecting lines. Tama po? And then, but it is the whole that you must consider. So, whole. So, ibig sabihin, parang sinasabi sa'yo na, is it a whole number? Okay. So, let us continue. Ito po ang ating tanong. This was all of the material available to Sandra. She knew that the serial robbers loved to compete with investigators from the previous na binasa natin na iniwan na note. Okay, she realized that this was a direct tactic from the thief and that, as announced, they would strike. O yun nga, yung sinabi natin. No? So, should Sandra expect some tall or short? What hypothesis about what happened can be drawn from the blood stains? So, where would the thief strike next? So, yun po yung inyong sasagutan. So, where would the thief strike next? Okay. So, representing the university campus, ito po yung ating Cartesian plane. Ayan. Naka-grid na po siya. Naka-grid na siya. Locations of the departments where the robberies occurred. So, entrance, reception area. So yan po yung ating origin, 00. And then, Department of Mathematics, 2 and 4. So, ito po yun. Ay, sumobra. Mali ng pindot. Ayan. So, ayan po yun, 2 and 4. And then, Department of Geology, 7 and 1. So siya po yun, 7 and 1. So yun po yung location. And then Department of Nuclear Physics at 0 and 15. So ito po yun. Alright. And then Department of Theoretical Physics, that's at 3 and 6. So ito po yun. Okay. And then Department of Photonics, 4 and 7. So ito po yun. And then Department of Genetics at 2 and 11. Ito po yun. And then the Department of Biotechnology at 7 and 14. So ito po yun. Okay. So, meron na po tayong Cartesian plane. So sabi, ano yung clues na sinabi kanina ng suspect natin? The next daw po na mag-strike siya kung saan mag-intersect mag-meet yung dalawang lines. So paano ako magkakaroon ng dalawang line? Somehow parang, okay, parang ito line to oh. Ayan, parang line siya, no? So it's somewhat, this is a straight line. At the same time, ito rin, parang somewhat a straight line. So parang iniisip mo, parang may straight lines nga sila, no? So ano gagawin natin to verify our claim that this one is a straight line and this is also a straight line? Sige nga, let's continue. Okay, preparatory activity number 1. BPA analysis, blood stain pattern analysis. So yun po yung BPA. Blood stain pattern analysis. A little theory and history. Analysis through shape, dimension, and arrangement of blood stains is called blood stain pattern analysis or BPA. The first studies on blood stains take back to 1895 to the activities of the Polish forensic physician Dr. Edward Piotrowski, followed by other researchers who continued the analysis on many aspects. 1971 is another very important date. This was the year in which the essay Flight Characteristics and Stain Patterns of Human Blood by Herbert Leon MacDonald was published, a real milestone in the field. Blood is a tissue in the fluid state made up of liquid part, plasma, and a particulate component, erythrocytes, red blood cells, leukocytes, white blood cells, and thrombocytes, platelets. It has a density of 1.055 to 1.066. Water has a density of 1. A viscosity of between 3.5 and 5.5 times that of water, and a surface tension close to that of water. Due to its surface tension, the outer layer of a drop of blood behaves like an elastic film, and such a property has an essential influence on the behavior during its flight and subsequent impact on a surface. The viscosity of blood depends on various factors such as temperature and stress, or on particular situations, like, for example, dehydration. It is not, therefore, a constant factor. Okay. These physical characteristics of blood, in addition to the volume of a single drop, its speed over the course of its flight, the trajectory at the time of impact, and the type of surface on which it impacts, determine the shape of the blood stains and their dimensions. Therefore, from crime scenes that present traces of blood, it is possible to extract considerable information about how the event unfolded. In particular, from analysis of the morphology and the distribution of blood stains, it is possible to determine, okay, 1, the origin of the nature of the event that produced the blood stain. 2, the distance between the point of impact of the blood stain and its origin. 3, the type and direction of the force that caused the injury. 4, the number of blows or shots. 5, the position of the attacker, the victim, and any objects during the attack. And lastly, the movements of the victim and their attacker, and the possible displacement of objects following the attack. Okay, so kaya importante po natin malaman yung ganitong mga background. Okay, in particular, blood stain that is round and regular in shape on a smooth surface indicates a slow vertical trickle from a certain height, and measurements from laboratory examinations show that the diameter of the blood stain is directly proportional to the height from which it fell. This proportionality can be expressed by the equation y equal to a plus bx, where y is the height from which the drop of blood fell, x is the diameter of the blood stain on the smooth surface. Okay. All right. The values of the coefficients are a is equal to negative 222, and b, the numerical coefficient of x, is 182, where the units of measurements are expressed in centimeters for both x and y. Okay, two scholars, Romanese and Ferreiro, observed that the diameter of a blood stain increases regularly with regard to the height from which it falls up to the height limit, after which it stabilizes and does not increase any further as height increases. This height limit is around 170 centimeters. Beyond this height, the above equation can no longer be used. So, kailangan importante natin maintindihan ulit ito, no? Yun, no? Sabi doon, no? Kailangan hindi lalagpas yung taas sa 170 centimeters, or else, yung ating model na y is equal to a, yung y is equal to negative 222 plus 182x, di na siya magagamit. Okay, next. Okay, so let's have this activity. No? So what is the material? Scientific calculator, sheet of graph or squared paper, cell phone or tablet with Casio Edu Plus, internet connection, or whatsoever. So, yun siya. Okay, the purpose of the activity is to study the function y is equal to negative 222 plus 182 x, which defines the relationship between the diameter of the blood stain and the height from which it falls, representing it graphically on the Cartesian plane. So, itong activity na to, parang pinaparealize mo, no, sa estudyante bilang investigator yung behavior ng mga blood droplets doon sa floor. Okay? So, ito yun. No? Ganun parang somehow, pinapa-experience mo sa kanila maging investigator. Ganon. Okay? On the sheet, draw the Cartesian plane, no, Cartesian axis. What do the x-axis and y-axis represent? Di ba kanina sinabi na natin yon, yung height at saka yung diameter. Okay. Height ng pagkakahulog at saka diameter ng blood droplet. Define the scale for the unit of the measure on the graph. Plot at least 10 points in between 1 centimeter and 10 centimeters in diameter. The coordinates of the points are calculated using the calculator and the aforementioned function. Okay. Sige, gawin natin. Labas ako sa presentation ko. Open natin si ClassWiz. Okay. So, usually, ito yung makikita sa inyong screen calculator. Okay. This is a beta copy ng ClassWiz natin, ng Emulator. Okay. Okay, so we wanted to observe. So kunin natin yung table functions. So press menu and then arrow down. Makikita nyo si table ay number 9. So since naka-highlight naman na siya, pwede nyo na i-press si equals. Pero kung makikita nyo, may mga smaller numbers on the lower right corner. No? So, yun yung mga shortcut keys. So, you can press 9. Automatic papasok ka na doon. So, you have y is equal to negative 222 plus 182x. So, f of x is also y, di ba? So, kailan sinabi yun? Nung grade 8 sila, function. Okay. So, you have negative 222 plus 182x. So, this is your x sa ilalim ni on. So, when you press equals, nalabas g of x. So, just ignore it. Just press equals. And then, sabi, di ba, 1 to 10. So, we will start with 1 and we will end with 10. And then, our increment will be 1. Bakit 1? Bakit hindi pwedeng 0.5? Bakit hindi pwedeng 0.5? No? Eh, bahala ka kung anong tip mo sa buhay. But in our case, we wanted to use 1. Okay. And this will be our table of values. So, medyo lakihan natin yung screen. Ayan. So, pag 1 centimeter ang ating diameter, negative 40 daw. Kapag 2 centimeters ang diameter, 142 centimeters daw. Pag 3 centimeters, 324 daw. Pag 4 centimeters, 506 daw. So, sige nga, baba pa natin. And so on. Okay, so yun na siya. Okay, makikita na siya. Ayan siya. Okay. Okay, kung i-graph naman natin siya, ito yon. So, height which the drop fell, okay, in centimeters. And then, yung nasa x-axis natin, diameter of the blood stain in centimeters. So, ito siya. So, ito siya, no? So, medyo nakikita yung linear naman talaga siya. Talaga papata kasi we use linear function. Okay. So, analysis. What is the validity range of the points plotted on the x-axis? Hanggang saan lang valid? Prove this by marking with vertical lines. Kasi 'di ba sabi natin kanina, ano yung sinabi natin kanina doon sa taas? May height limit. 'Di ba? May height limit lang yung pwede natin gamitin. So mag-iisip na yung estudyante nyo, 'di ba? Kasi binigay mo na kanina yung mga conditions. So hanggang saan lang yung range ng diameter ng droplets na po pwede na allowable. Kasi nga, meron siyang limit. Okay. Plot another graph that represents the relationship in the validity range. Okay, ayan na yung graph. At which coordinate does the line intersect the x-axis? Oh, ito yung nag-intersect siya kay x-axis at negative 4, 1 and negative 40 sa ating calculator, di ba? So, yun. Hahanapin nila yung x-intercept. So, paano yun? Baba tayo, baba. Ayan, baba. Type natin 0. When we press equals, ayun, negative 222. Dapat siya. Pero dahil dito sa atin, ano lang siya, no? Putol kasi yan graph na yan. So, di natin makikita kung ibababa pa siya extended. Okay, at which coordinate does the line intersect? Oh, nasabi. What physical meaning can we attribute to the two coordinate numbers of this point? Negative 222, tapos 0. Feasible ba siya? Negative yung measurement na sinasabi. Diba? Yung height from which the draft fell is in centimeters. So, measurement pinag-usapan natin. Tapos ako mo negative 222. Pwede ba yun? So, pag-iisipin mo ulit yung estudyante mo, diba? Pwede ba yun? Okay, syempre alam natin na hindi yun pwede. Wala namang negative na measurement. Okay. So, does the point 1 and negative 40 provided by the function have any real significance? O di syempre, alam natin kung anong sagot dyan naman. Wala na naman. Kasi nga, negative yung measurement. Wala naman tayong negative measurement. So, yun siya. So, mag-iisip ulit yung bata. Okay. Solution now. So, what will be now the solution? Okay. Solution. Number 1. The shape of the blood stains found on the floor allow the following hypotheses to be formulated. The incident that caused them was not a particularly violent incident. The blood fell vertically with regard to the impact surfaces, floor, and the reception counter. The blood most probably belongs to the killer, and the janitor's knuckles soiled with the same blood. DNA analysis would indicate that there were a brawl during which the janitor punched the killer. A delicate area that may bleed due to a punch, no blades or items with traces of blood were found, is the nose. So, nasapak ng janitor yung killer sa ilong. Bleeding from the nose is slow and the drops fall vertically. Siyempre, no? Kung ikaw nakatayo ka ng diretso, no? Tatama ba yun? Pero kung malaki yung tiyan, nakaharang sa tiyan. Diba? So, pero kung hindi naman ganun kalakihan yung tiyan, no? Diretso yun sa floor. Okay. And then, therefore, if this hypothesis were true, the dimensions of the blood stains would provide information about the killer's height. So, nagkakaroon ka na ng clue, no? The different diameters of bloodstains and their position allow a hypothesis to be formulated about how the events unfolded. So, eto yung mga yon. No? Diameter of blood stains. So, you have 3, 1.6 centimeters, 2.3 centimeters, 1.8 centimeters. Calculated height from which it fell, 69.2 centimeters, 196.6 centimeters, 105.6 centimeters. Okay, reconstruction of events. Yung diameter ng blood na 1.6 at yung height na 69.2, okay? The killer or the thief bent over close to the janitor's body after the brawl. They were probably looking for something in the janitor's pockets. Okay. So parang nagre-reason out ka na kung bakit ganun lang yung height, no, ng pagkakahulog ng blood stain, ng blood droplet pala. Next, dun sa 2.3 centimeters and 196.6 centimeters, the thief is walking toward the reception desk. Based on the validity range of the relationship, this information is not very reliable in enabling us to define the height of the killer. Kasi lumagpas, di ba? Ano yung limit natin kanina? 150, di ba? Okay. Then 1.8 centimeters, 105.6 centimeters. The thief was probably wanting to leave and was looking for the switch to open the door. His nose was therefore above the desk. The drops were still falling vertically, round and regular in shape. Kasi di ba, yun nga yung sinabi, all of which are round and regular in shape. In this case, the distance calculated is within the validity range and is therefore reliable. In order to find the height of the killer, the height calculated using the bloodstains is added to the height of the table. So, height of the, binigay din naman kanina yung height ng table. No? 80 plus 105.6 is equal to 185.6 centimeters. The results from this analysis, in addition to the clues from the footprints found at the second robbery, support the hypothesis that the suspect is tall and well-built. Okay. So, medyo umaayo na ang clue. Next. The answer to the third question can be found in the diagram showing the locations of the offenses and in the type note using the little fantasy and a visual representation. It may be useful to gather the information in a summary table. Ayan na yung question. So kung, di ba, sabi ko kanina yung makakasagot dun sa third question, no? Yung makakasagot dun sa third question na saan siya susunod na gagawa ng crime, yung makakakuha ng prize. So sige nga, tingnan natin kung meron ng makakasagot. Ayan, tingnan natin kung meron ng makakasagot using this information. No? Time, first crime, place, genetics, ano yung ano niya, coordinates 2 and 11, and nuclear physics, 0 and 15. Victims, 2 women. And then second crime, mathematics, it's at 2 and 4, and then 1 man, and then yun yung victim, isang tao na lalaki, isang lalaki. Third crime, photonics at 4 and 7, and geology at 7 and 1. Dalawang babae yung ating, dalawang babae yung ating victims. And the fourth crime, theoretical physics at 3 and 6, and biotechnology at 7 and 14. So dalawang lalaki ulit yung victims. And then the fifth crime, which is at the reception area, so 0, 0, isang lalaki ang namatay. Now, if we're going to have again the Cartesian plane, ito 'yon, no? We will try to color, no, yung men in black, and then the red yung pong mga babae. Okay po. So yun siya. The last clue left on the note, anyone who has been misled by simple evidence is wrong. Which, ayan, where will I strike next? Okay. Looking at the diagram, it seems like the thief did not strike at random, but according to a geometric pattern. The places where the victims were women, red dots, and where the victims were black dots, no? Men were black dots, appear to be aligned in 2 straight lines. So, etong black, parang straight line siya, and then tong red, parang straight line ulit siya. How can this hypothesis be confirmed? If a straight line passes through a point on the Cartesian plane, then algebraically, the coordinates of that point satisfy the equation of a straight line. So all points along the straight line satisfy the same equation. O sige nga, tingnan natin kung may makakasagot na. Tingin tayo sa sa comment section. Tingin tayo sa comment section. Okay, wala, no? So, habang mag-aantay tayo na medyo manghuhula, ayan. So, tingnan nga natin. Good morning po ulit sa lahat. Ayan, we have friends from different places all over the Philippines. Ayan. Watching from Amadeo, Cavite daw po. Hello po. Ayan, may sumagot. Department of Photonics daw po. Susunod na crime scene. Ayan. Thank you, Sir Raymond Bautista de Jesus. Hello po. Good morning. Ayan, meron pa kaya ibang manghuhula? Okay. Sayang naman yung cash prize. Malay nyo kayo na makatama. Diba? Oh. Sayang pa naman ang isisend sa GCash. Hindi daw namin alam, sir, kung magkano yung price. Basta alam ko, ano yun eh, hindi bababa sa 3 digits. Sayang din yun, no? Hindi ko makakapulot basta-basta ng 3 digits. Okay. Sige, next clues. Good morning din po. Ayan, next clue. Sige, para mas maraming makasagot, ito ang mga next clues natin. Ayan, next clues. We can therefore find the equations for the two straight lines using the generic equation or the slope-intercept form na y is equal to mx plus b. No? We can find the values of the coefficients for m and b of the two straight lines. So the value of the slope and the intercept b, y-intercept b. To do this, it is sufficient to have 2 points that belong to each data series for each line. So for one line, no, yung red dots, kinuha natin si 0, 0, and 3, and 6. So these are the 2 points that we will be using. No, isa-substitute natin doon sa ating y is equal to mx plus b. Okay. So at 0, 0, no, your x is 0 and then your y is 0. So ito magiging 0. Tama? And then si x ay 0. So x is also 0. So ito magiging itsura niya. So 0 is equal to m times 0 plus b. Kasi y is 0, then x is 0. Okay. Simplifying, no, so m times 0, this will eventually be 0. Ang matitira, b equals 0. Okay, so meron na tayong value ni b. Okay, so gamit naman tayo ng isa pang point, si 3 and 6, kasi nagamit na natin si 0, 0. 3 and 6, okay, your x is 3, your y is 6. So, substitute natin ulit. No? Y is 6, and then x is 3. So, ito magiging equation natin dyan. 6 is equal to m times 3 is equal to 0. Oh, bakit na yung b mo, sabi mo 0, b? Diba, yun na, nakuha na natin b is 0. So, gamitin na natin, nakuha mo na eh. Okay. So, ano matitira sa atin? 0 naman na pala ito, sir. 3m is equal to 6. So, we have to divide both sides by 3, giving you m equal to 2. So, meron ka ng value ni m, meron ka ng value ni b. So, ano yung equation natin? Y is equal to 2x. No? So, yun yung equation natin. So, the equation of the straight line linked to the female victims is y equals 2x. So, meron na tayong isang line. Yay! Ako, malapit na. Okay. Next. For the line identified by the black dots, we choose the points 0 and 15 and 2 and 11. Okay? So, gamitin muna natin si 0 and 15. At 0 and 15, okay, 0 si x, 15 si y. So, 15 equals m times 0 plus b. Eventually, this will be 0 kasi any number multiplied to 0 is 0. B will be equal to 15. Ayan, B is equal to 15. And then, sa second point natin na 2 and 11, x is 2, y is 11. So, 11 is equal to m times 2 plus b. But your b is 15. Tama? Your b is 15. So, Ang mangyayari, we need to subtract 15 on both sides. So it will give you negative 4 is equal to 2m. And then, we need to divide both sides by 2, giving you with m equal to negative 2. Ayan siya, di ba? So, ayan siya. Okay. So, meron ka ng value ni m, meron ka ng value ni b. So, your equation para sa black dots will be y equal to negative 2x plus 15. So, the equation of the straight line linked to the male victims is y equal to negative 2x plus 15. Ayan. Ayan na nga. No, ayan na nga. Meron na tayong dalawang lines. Sabi kanina ng victims, mag-strike daw siya on the next, no, na lugar saan? Where the two lines meet. Sige nga, antay tayo ng makakapagbigay ng tamang sagot. Okay. Ayan, ang dami ko na binibigay na clue. Sige nga, tingnan natin kung may magbibigay ng tamang sagot. Tingnan natin. Sayang ang cash prize. Ano siya? Sayang ang cash prize. Okay, habang wala pang nagsasabi ng sagot, tingnan natin yung mga comment section previously. Okay. Good morning, watching at home from Monto National High School sa Ozamis City. Hello po, Sir Carl Patrick Balsita Fiel. Ayan. So, hello, good morning. Bento Salam Rossi po from Malabang, Lanao del Sur. Hello po. Ayan, parang mga taga Mindanao yung nanonood sa atin. Ayan. Watching from Dao National High School. SDO Capiz. Hello po sa mga taga Capiz. Ayan. Ang middle name ko po ay Cipriano. Yung pinakaunang Cipriano daw po dito sa Malabon ay galing ng Rojas, Capiz. Ayan po. Hello po. Yun po ay tatay ng lolo ko sa nanay. Ayan. Ayan. Watching from Bulacan, a teacher from Jen Tiburcio de Leon National High School. Hello po, Ma'am Maria Rizal Santillan. Hello po. Ayan. So, meron na bang nagsagot? Ayan, may nagsagot. David Cal and Lagi. Ayan, ang sagot ni Sir is 15 fourths and 15 halves. Oh, yun din ang sagot ni Sir Raymond Bautista de Jesus. 15 fourths and 15 halves. Ayan. So, ano kaya? So, gumamit sila ng systems of linear equations into variables. Sige, try nga natin yan using our calculator. Okay. Mamaya na pala. Sige, para masaya. Tingnan natin kung tama yung sagot nila, sir, ha? Sir, ano yung sagot ni Sir? Sir David Kalagi and Sir Raymond Bautista de Jesus. Ayan. So, may sagot din si Sir Glenn Ibanez Gilongos. So, sa kanya naman decimal. So, 3.75 and 7.5. Okay. So, ito yung equation natin. We now check the coordinates of the other positions of the buildings where the thief struck. So, whether it will satisfy din, no? Sa mga equations natin. So, ayan naman. Pakita natin na na-satisfy pareha. So, it's really a straight line. Straight line talaga yung ginagawang trend nung ating serial killer. Okay. Oh, yun nga. In-explain ko na serial killer nag-straight line. So, therefore, the next step is to determine the coordinates of this point, yung intersection ng dalawang line. So, gawin natin yun, no? So, ito yung graph. Gamitin na natin si ClassWiz. Okay. Paano po hahanapin yung intersection daw po ng two lines? We will use menu and then we will use equations. Equations yung pong katabi ni table, yung letter A. So, ang A po ay naka-negative sign. So, pwede nyo napapindutin si negative sign. Tatanungin po kayo, simultaneous equation or polynomial equations? So, we will be using simultaneous equations. So, sa amin po sa Europe, it's simultaneous equations. Dito po sa Pilipinas, siya po ay systems of equations. Okay, so simultaneous equations, one. Tinatanong po kayo, how many variables are involved? So, since we have x and y, we only have two variables, so press 2. And then, ano yun? It should be in ax plus by equals c form. E ano ba yung dalawang equation natin ulit? Ayan. Y is equal to 2x. So, ano siya in ax plus by equals c? So, 2x minus y equals 0. And 2x minus y, 2x plus y equals 15 rather. Okay. So, gawin natin yun. Ayan, para kita si equation. So, ito, 2x minus y. So, ang coefficient na x, 2, equals. And then, ang coefficients, di ba, magiging negative y siya. So, negative 1. And then, si c is 0. So, press 0. Syempre, wala ka pang nalalagay dun sa babae. Okay. And then, lipat natin sa negative 2x. So, 2x plus y equals 15. So, coefficient ni x is 2. And then, coefficient naman ni y is 1. And then, the constant is 15. Okay. 15 fourths and 15 halves. Yan po din yung lumabas, no? So, yun yung mga sagot nila. Pero, ang sabi ni serial killer, may huli siyang phrase na sinabi. Balikan natin yung huling sinabi ni killer. Balikan natin yung sinabi ni killer. Ayan. So, wala pang nakakakuha ng tamang sagot. Kasi ang sabi ni killer, ano yung sabi ni killer? Asan na yung question natin yun? Sabi ni killer, ayan. I will strike where the straight lines meet, but it is the whole that you must consider. Okay. wala pang nagbibigay ng tamang sagot. Kasi ang sabi niya, I will strike where the straight lines meet, but it is the whole that you must consider. Sige nga, mag-comment na kung sino yung magbibigay ng tamang sagot. Ayan, tingnan natin. Sayang po ang cash prize. Dali, yan, sayang yan. Hala. 3 digits din yan. From there, dapat alam nyo na ang gagawin. Kasi sabi, it should be the straight line. Okay, habang nag-aantay tayo ng comment nila, no, ng tamang sagot, how can we see the graph, no, dito sa ating function? Okay. So from here, ang gagawin mo, press shift and then QR. Wala siya. Shift and then, lumabas. Sige na nga. Ano nga ulit yung question natin? Nawala yung question natin. Napindot ko kasi si AC. I see, oh. Okay. Balik, ayan, may nagko-comment na ng sagot. Sige. Tingnan na natin. Ang equation natin ulit is y is equal to 2x. So, 2x minus y. 2 equals negative 1 equals, and then 0. And then, 2x plus y equals 15. So, 2 equals, 1 equals, and then 15 equals. And then equals. So, shift QR, lalabas ang QR code. No, using your smartphones, ayan. So, gagamit po ako ng app, no? Ito po yung parang pinaka-screen ng aking cellphone. Kasi gagamitin ko po si Casio Edu Plus para ma-scan yung QR code ng ating i-graph. Ayan. Tapos, open in browser. Chrome. And then, lalabas po ang ating website ni Casio. Lalabas na po yung graph. Ayan, online visualization. Lakihan natin para masaya. Ayan, so yun po, ayan, nakita na natin yung graph, yung equation na 2x minus y equals to 0 and 2x plus y equals 50. So yun siya. Ayun siya, no? Kung tutuusin yun siya, ang sabi daw, it is the whole that you must consider. So, saan siya malapit? Saan siya mas malapit na whole? Okay. Tingnan natin na yung mga comment section natin. Tingnan na natin yung comment sections. Kung sinong nakakakuha ng tamang sagot. Ayan. may nakakuha na ba ng tamang sagot? Ayan, sagot ni Sir Ray Verano, 4 and 8. Rose Ann Aquino, 3 and 7. 4 and 0, 3 and 7, 3 and 7. Ayan. Ayan, I think meron nang nakakuha ng tamang sagot. So, antayin nyo po ang message, no? Mag-reply po sa inyo mamaya. Okay, at the end of ng ating discussion. O, legit po ito ha. Legit po ito. Magbibigay po talaga ng prize. No? Hindi po basta-basta ang ating sponsor today. No? Para manloko tayo ng prizes. Okay. So, let's have the second case. Second case. So, dito manggagaling yung huling prize natin. No? Dito manggagaling yung huling prize natin. Okay. Second case. It happened one night. It happened one night. So, the next activity tries to answer the question, do relationships exist between two seemingly distinct data series? The themes addressed in the activity refer to descriptive statistics, including in particular the concepts of linear regression, interpolation, and correlation between data sets. So, hindi lang descriptive stat, pati inferential stat. Okay. Sige. Ano yung mga kailangan natin? Kit material. The kit is designed for per work group, maybe 3 to 5 members again. Of course, our Casio ClassWiz, storyboard map, meter stick, pencil, and paper. Okay, ito yung suggested time frame niya, no? If you're going to do it. The case. Let's have now the case. It happened one night. That's the title of the case. It was night of February 17. Heavy snowfall had covered, syempre sa Italy may snowfall. Heavy snowfall had covered the ground with a thick blanket of snow. Veronica had spent the evening at her friend Anna's house. At midnight, she walked through the square back to her apartment, located on the second floor of a block on the other side of the square. Fortunately, it had stopped snowing about half an hour before. Unfortunately, Veronica never made it home. Her corpse was found in the early hours in the morning in the square at the point indicated by the cross on the map. So this is the map. This is where Veronica lived. The police immediately cordoned off the square, blocked the access streets, and began investigations. So, yan, in-enclose na siya ng cordon. No, yung yellow na cordon pag may mga crime scenes, di ba? Veronica and Samuel's house, so yung letter A. So, ito yon. Bahay ni Veronica at saka ni Samuel. And then, bahay ni Sonia, ito yon. And then, bahay ni Victorio, ito yon. Bahay ni Ana, ito yon. And bahay ni Tomaso, ito yon. Samuel's newsstand, ito yon. And then, the bell tower, ito yon. Okay, so ito, papuntang Mortona, papuntang Lansiloto. Okay. The first information gathered concerned the inhabitants of the houses around the square. Veronica, the victim, Samuel, the newspaper vendor, age 45, height 165 centimeters. Sonia, a physician, age 38, height 175 centimeters. Vittorio, bank employee, age 36, height 188 centimeters. Anna, Veronica's friend, age 54, height 169 centimeters. And of course, Tomaso, bell ringer in the tower in the square, age 50, height 178 centimeters. Okay. Interrogating each one of them separately, investigators collected the following information about their movements on the night in question. Samuel had left his house A and had gone to his newsstand AA. Sonia had left her house B and headed toward Via Lansiloto to start her shift at the hospital. So tingnan muna natin ulit yung map, going back to the map. So si Samuel, umalis sa bahay niya galing sa house A and pumunta sa newsstand na AA. Ito yun. House A, pumunta sa sa newsstand AA. Okay, so siya si Samuel. Si Sonia naman, umalis sa bahay niya, house B, pumunta kina Lanceloto. No? Headed toward via Lanceloto. Pumunta dun sa, lumabas ng Lanceloto, no? Para sa shift niya sa hospital. So, eto yon. Ito yung pinuntahan niya. So, B. From B, no? From B, and then pumunta siya dito sa Lanceloto, palabas papunta sa hospital. Okay. Vittorio had left his house C to head towards Mortona. So, papunta naman Mortona. So, house C, then nag-cross naman ng Mortona. So, yun siya. So, pwedeng dito dumaan papunta dun. Tapos ito nung pumunta papunta dun o papunta dun or whatsoever. And then si C naman dumaan papunta dun. Kasi ito yung crime scene natin. And then, Tomaso had left his house E to go to the bell tower EE. Tomaso, house E, to go to the bell tower EE. So, dadaan pa rin doon. No? May posibilidad pa rin na dumaan doon sa crime scene. The thick fog that had developed made their routes erratic and prevented any of them from noticing anything strange. During their journey, nobody came across any other footprints in the snow. None of their paths intersected with each other or with poor Veronica's path. Ayan. So, ito yung mga parang situations that you need to analyze to try to solve kung sinong pumatay kay Veronica. Okay, when the police arrived, the sun had melted almost all the footprints. The only place where the footprints remained was in the shade of the bell tower, close to the victim. These showed the killer's exit route. Below is a rough sketch done by the appointed officer. So, 73 centimeters. 73 centimeters daw yung shoe size. Other information collected by the investigators. No one who was questioned has crossed the square more than once. So, isang beses lang sila dumaan doon. From the shape of the footprints, it can be deduced that the killer ran to flee the scene. So, tumatakbo. Okay. Of the people questioned, who is the likeliest suspect? Ayan. So, ito ang ating last winning question. No? Pinakahuling, kailangan yung masagot ng tama. Okay? Of the people questioned, who is the likeliest suspect? Ayan. Of course, we have to reason out why. Mga footprints. So, footprints ang ating natitirang pwedeng pagbasihan. Okay. A little theory and history, biometric identification. Identifying criminals has always been a crucial issue in the field of criminology. In the past, there was tendency to tattoo criminals in order to make them more recognizable in the future. So, yun yung reason kung bakit kapag nakukulong ka, tinatatuan ka. No? Yun pala yung reason na yun. Para kapag gumawa ko ulit ng crime sa susunod na pagkakataon, may palatandaan na sa'yo kasi yung tattoo. Okay. Only around 1879 did Alphonse Bertillon begin to suggest classification and identification methods based on a mathematical analysis of the measurements of people's physiological features. He started the process known as biometric identification. So, yun na siya. So, gagamitin natin biometric identification kasi ang natitira natin na clue is 173 centimeters. Yun yung shoe size. His proposals were based on a wide sampling of dimensions relating to the parts of the body, including height, arm span, torso measurement, and dimensions of the head, the middle toe on the left foot, and the left forearm. He observed that the probability of two people having the same measurements for all the for all of the anatomical areas considered was extremely low, thus proposing a new classification method for humans. So napakaliit ng probability na magkakaparehas ng measurements yung mga binanggit na measurements ng katawan kanina. The method yielded good results as long as the criminal database was populated with data from new prisoners, but after around 10 years, it was discovered that if people who had never been in prison could present similar characteristics, if not indeed identical to those of the criminals. The system was abandoned at the start of 1900s due to a more efficient method developed by the physician Henry Folds and the statistician Francis Galton. Fingerprints naman. Okay, ang ginamit. Over time, biometric has implemented new techniques to meet its people identification and authentication objectives, DNA analysis, retina and iris scanning, hand structure, facial feature recognition, ear shape, body odor, brain imprints, signature dynamics, voice verification, lip imprint. So, yun naman siya. Ito na yung mga bago. Okay. One of the characteristic signs that the investigators look for at crime scenes are footprints because they contain a lot of information about the subject who has left them. Sometimes a footprint from a shoe can prove useful in determining and tracing the subject's routes on the crime scene. Second, determining the approximate height and weight of a person. Kasi kung mas mabigat yung, mas malalim yung, or mas mas baon yung footprint. And then, sabi nga natin, related daw yung haba ng shoe size, or haba ng paa sa height ng tao. No? And third, establishing gender, age, and other features. Studying the running mode. Siyempre kasi, bakit kaya ma-establish yung gender, age, and other features? Kasi, mas malapad daw ang paa ng lalaki kaysa sa girls. 'Di ba? Tingnan mo na lang sa mga sapatos, 'di ba? Pag gagawa ng sapatos, mas malapad ang sa boys. Studying the running mode. Someone with a fast gait, a heavy person, someone moving backward, turning, limping, etc. Okay. This analysis does not fall fully into the field of biometrics as it does not identify a two-way relationship between anatomical features and the person who processes them. It does, however, allow more generic correlations to be highlighted, which can prove very useful. Okay. Data analysis statistics. One very useful tool for biometric analysis is the descriptive stat. That is the area of statistics that deals with information regarding a sample of studied population and describes the fundamental characteristics of it through indices. Ano yung mga index na yun? Indices na yun, rather. Average values, statistical relationships, etc. Tables and graphs in an effective manner. Results obtained in this way can define givens except for measuring errors for the whole population. Okay, let's have a preparatory activity. Requires the use of linear regression in order to obtain useful information for solving the case. Linear regression, alam na natin yung mga math. So, ayan, correlated na siya. Okay. An example application of this technique. It aims to check the following hypothesis. The length of bakit kailangan natin itong activity na to? Kasi, ito siya. No? The length of a person's forearm is proportional to the shoe size. Yun yung gusto nating i-try na patunayan, no, sa activity na to. First thing to do is to identify a sample. No, alam na natin yon. The size of sample. The number of people na kukuha na natin ng samples. Kung ilan, no, bilang. And the representativeness of important elements because the results can be relevant for the whole population. No? So, pwedeng babae, lalaki. In our case, we are limiting ourselves to the population of students in a school. And we are choosing students in a class as the representative sample. So, sa classroom ka lang kukuha. Kasi kung may face-to-face na. Kasi di ba ang ano to, ina-assume niya na may face-to-face setup. No, kung ano naman, di magsukatan sila sa bahay. Kung dahil ngayon, di ba, ano naman tayo, online, 'di ba? Kasi nga walang face-to-face. Kung online, grupo mo sila, no? And then hingin mo yung data ng bawat isa. Halimbawa, ako, send ko yung shoe size ko at saka yung height ko dun sa classmate ko. Tapos, mangongolekta ko ng mga sample sa mga kaklase ko para meron akong data. Ganun. Two measurements must be taken from each individual in the sample, length of their forearm and their shoe size. Okay, next. So, the data collected in a table. So, parang ganito lang yung sample. And sample lang po ito, no? Sample lang po siya. Okay. So, using our ClassWiz, okay, enter natin yung data. So, leetan mo na kita. Okay, ayan. So, gagamit tayo ng statistics. Okay, menu. And then statistics is 6. Okay, tatanungin ka, one variable ba? Okay, two variable ba na linear in nature? And then yung quadratic, okay, meron ding natural logarithmic. So, meron tayong two variables, linear lang na two variables. So, press 2. So, enter the 15 samples. Okay, so you have 26.7, 26.7 equals 25.4 equals 29.2 equals and 26.7 equals 29.2 equals okay 25.7 equals 28.3 equals 26.4 equals 28.9 equals 24.9 equals 26.9 equals 25.7 equals 29.3 equals 25.4 equals 27.8 equals. And then using arrow keys, para mapunta naman tayo dun sa Y column, you have 37.5 and then 37.5 again and then 41 and then 36.5 and then 41 and then 36 and then 39 and then 37 and then 40 and then 35 and then 38 and then 36 and then 40 and then 36 and then 39. Okay. Wala siya. Dalawang 36, so dapat 39. Ayan, mali ako lang pindot. Ayun. So, once entered na yung ating data, okay, so, anong gusto natin gawin? So, let us try to see this in a graph. No, using ulit ating QR code. Ay, hindi na siya connected. Bakit hindi siya na connected? Ayan. So, QR code natin, ano? So, shift and then options, QR. And then scan natin using our cell phones. So, ito ay parang naka-mirror yung aking cellphone sa aking laptop. Casio Edu Plus, QR code. So, makikita din talaga ng estudyante yung ginagawa ko sa scam. Ayan, scan natin yung code and then choose open browser. And then Chrome, open in Chrome. Magbubukas ang website ni Casio with the graph ng ating function. I mean, ng ating data. So, ito yung ating table, no? So, binigay din ni Casio yung table natin. Lakihan pa natin. Pwede pa naman laki. Ayan. And this is our scatter graph. No, this is our scatter graph. But somehow, no, parang makikita mo na parang nagfo-fall lang siya sa isang straight line. No? So, yun yung ma-observe natin. Somehow, parang nagfo-fall siya into straight line. So, observing that, ano pwede natin sabihin? So, na-observe natin. Displaying data in a graph is often a very useful. Ayan na graph natin. Okay. Nagawa na natin, na-graph na natin. The points are not distributed normally. There appears to be a relationship between them. On average, the longest forearms corresponds to the biggest shoe size. With some degree of approximation, we can state the points on the graph are distributed around a straight line, y is equal to bx plus a, which crosses through them, and we can say that the equation of this straight line mathematically describes a possible relationship between the data. Diba? O balikan natin yung graph. Balikan natin yung graph. O diba, yan yung sinasabi natin. Somehow, parang it falls into a straight line. Yun yung sinasabi natin dito. Okay. Sumobra na naman yata ako ng pinto. Okay, ayan. Naka-animation pala siya. Okay. Mathematically describe as possible ratio of the data, no? The equation of the straight line is, paano ko nakuha itong straight line na ito? Yung equation ng straight line ko na, y is equal to 1.2, x is equal to, plus 5.9 rather. Okay, saan natin nakuha yan? Balik tayo kay ClassWiz. Okay. Press options. And then press regression calculation. That's number 4. Ayan no, binigay na sa atin yung best fit line. Y is equal to A plus BX. Ano si A? 5.9 and so on. And then B, 1.18 and so on. And then your correlation coefficient R, which is 0.95. Okay? So, pag tawag dito, kapag nag-round off tayo into one decimal unit or one decimal place rather, yung A natin is 5.9 kaya plus 5.9. So, yun kasi siya, 'di ba? A plus BX or BX plus A. So, your B, the numerical coefficient of X na B is 1.2. And then your A is 5.9. So, the best fit line for the distribution nung nasa table natin is this one. Y is equal to 1.2x plus 5.9. And then, yung ating correlation coefficient is 0.95. So, somewhat close, no? Very close to 1. So, somehow, we are relatively confident that the equation describes the relationship between the data. No? Somewhat, no? Relatively confident tayo na magpo-fall talaga doon siya. Okay. Next. If we know the measurement of a person's forearm, that is 29 centimeters, is it possible to gain an idea of the size of the footprint? Pwede ba? Pwede ba yun? Siyempre, meron na tayong relationship eh. So, magpe-predict tayo. So, paano tayo magpe-predict? So, from this table, no, press AC, ito dapat lalabas. Okay? Meron tayong given value ni x that is 29. So, press 29. Ang hinahanap natin si y hat. So, saan natin makukuha si y hat? So, we wanted to predict the length ng footprint, di ba? So, press options. Okay? And then, arrow down. So, hahanapin natin si regression. Si regression ay number 4. So, press 4. So, ayun si y hat, si number 5. So, press 5. When we press equals, so, yun yung footprint mo. No? 40 point something centimeters. So, yun yung footprint na maiiwan. Kung ang forearm ng isang tao ay 29 centimeters. Base doon sa relationship na nakuha natin kanina. Okay. So, let's have an activity. So, this is a suggested activity after the routines that we did. Activity. In the following activity, we want to check whether correlations exists between the following pairs of measurements. So, estudyante yung papagawain natin dito. Okay, estudyante yung papagawain natin dito. The shoe size of a person and the length of the stride. Height of the person and the length of the stride. Height of a person and their shoe size. Length of a person's forearm and the length of their foot. The length of a person's stride and the length of their leg. Sir, ano po ba yung stride? No, in the first place, ano po ba yung stride? Yun yung hakbang. Okay, yung sukat ng pagkakahakbang niya. Yun siya. Okay? Knowing the possible link exists between these measurements, an investigator has a tool in hand to gather some information about the anatomy of the killer, starting with the footprints found. Okay. So, yun yung gagawin ng mga bata. No? Ito yung suggested table. Ayan. Meter stick, minsan mas maganda daw gamitin yung medida. No? Kasi ano siya, tawag nito, yung mas flexible daw si medida. Okay. Bahala kayo kung anong gusto nyo gamitin. Basta masusukat. Okay. So, ito yung suggested table natin. So, student 1, 2, 3, and blah, blah, blah. And then height in centimeters. Shoe size, no? And then length of stride in centimeters. Length of forearm in centimeters. Siguro, gamitin mo na lang din yung shoe size na in centimeters. Para ano din, yung haba na lang din ng paa. Kasi yung, sa ibang bansa, di ba yung shoe size yung 44, 40, 39, no? Ako hindi ko naintindihan kung ano yun. Ano ba yung 40 na yun? Okay. It is necessary to define a method, a convention, so that everybody operates in the same manner and has the same benchmark. There needs to be a single measurement protocol. So yun nga, single measurement protocol, centimeters. Kung lahat centimeters, 4 centimeters, no? Para magkaroon tayo ng uniformity. Okay. Yun po. Suggested po na gagawin. So, bakit kailangan din gawin to? Kasi, eto yung magsasuggest doon sa investigator na totoong mataas ang relationship ng person's forearm at saka length ni foot. Yung haba ng hakbang niya at sa haba ng legs niya. Yung height ng tao at saka ng haba ng paa. Yung height ng tao at saka yung haba ng hakbang niya. At the same time, yung haba ng paa niya at saka yung haba din ng hakbang niya. May mga relationship kasi yun. Okay. Pero dahil nga we want our students to be our investigators, so yun siya. Okay. So yun yung gagawin natin. Okay. After that, ano yung pwede mong itanong sa mga estudyante? How is the data arranged on the graph? No? Kasi yun yung gusto nating makita doon sa scatter plot. May ma-observe ba sila na medyo magfo-fall ba sila into a line? Parang ganon. Why is it not aligned exactly as a straight line? Syempre, malamang, no? Alam natin yung reason na hindi naman talaga lahat is exactly magfo-fall na straight line. Kasi iba-iba pa rin naman yung proportion ng katawan natin. What is the equation of the straight line that best describes the data distribution? So ito lang yung parang mga questions para mag-analyze talaga yung mga estudyante natin with the results that we were able to obtain. Okay? What is the value of the coefficient R? Is it possible to use the mathematical equations to make the predictions? No? Kasi kung mataas ang relationship, no, Pearson R relationship, no, pwede natin magamit as mathematical predictor. No? For example, is it possible to determine a person's height from their shoe size or from the length and blah, 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 blah. Can there be any criticism about the validity? Blah, blah. Okay. Solution. So, ito na siya. From after ng activity, ito na yung lalabas. There are two possibilities. Tomaso passes behind the newsstand in order to go to EE, in which case it was Vittorio who found the victim. Tomaso passes in front of the newsstands, in which case it is he who finds the victim. First possibility, Tomaso passes behind the newsstand, AA. In this case, it is Vittorio who found the victim. So, ito yung route. No? Ayan yung nasa map. Yung second possibility naman na sinasabi, ito naman siya. Okay. Ay, ala! Na-reveal ko na yung sagot! Balik! Hindi, ayaw mo na nga. Sige, sino na yung una mag-comment ng sagot? Siya yung mananalo ng cash prize natin. Sige. So, ito yung second possibility. Tomaso passes in front of the newsstand AA. In this case, it is Tomaso who found the victim. Use the results obtained in the preparatory activity on the height and person's length of their stride from the statistical sample in the class. Supposing that the relationship okay, may nagko-comment na sagot. Supposing that the relationship identified is applicable in general, estimate the killer's height from the footprints left and compare it to the height of the two suspects. No. Kasi sino yung dalawang suspect natin? Vittorio and Tomaso. Pero, sino ang ating killer talaga? Okay. So, tingnan natin kung may mag-comment ng ating sagot, ng tamang sagot. Ayan siya. Okay. Meron na akong nakita sumagot. Sir Glenn Ibanez, Gilongos, Vittorio. Okay. And then si Sir Raymond Bautista de Jesus, Tomaso. Okay, so meron nang nakakuha kasi dalawa lang naman yung suspect natin. Di syempre meron nang nakakuha ng tamang sagot. Okay, so these are the 2 cases that we have. Now, yung third case po ay nasa part 2. Sa part 2 po siya. Okay, before I give you back to Sir Bads, no, I'll give you some parting words for this session. No? We all use math every day to predict weather, to tell time, to handle money. Math is more than formulas or equations. It's logic, it's rationality, it's using your mind to solve the biggest mysteries we know. Okay? So, from there, talagang araw-araw ginagamit natin si math. Without knowing it, math, no, ang buhay natin araw-araw. Okay, and with that, thank you po for enjoying somehow. Sana in-enjoy nyo talaga yung ating session for today. And abangan nyo po kung kailan po yung part 2 ng ating The World by the Numbers. And with this, I'll give you back to Sir Buds Manansala. Sir Buds. Okay.
Hello, Sir Taki. Hello,
Hello
Sir
po.
Rinaldo. Sorry. Good morning.
Opo. po.
Ayan, so thank you very much, Sir Ray, for that very comprehensive discussion about your topic this morning. And tulad na nakagawian natin, before we proceed with our guest commentator this morning, let us have our educational unit head, Mr. Joel Serrano. Joel,
Oy, good morning, Sir Buddy, Sir Torres, the legendary Sir Torres.
Good morning, Sir
It
Joel.
was a very, very, very nice presentation. Okay, kamusta kayo? Medyo I'm not feeling well today, pero I'm talagang pinilit ko para makasama sa discussion. No? Sir Torres, meron palang phone-in question dito para sa'yo.
Hala, wag mahirap.
Ito po yung tanong. Sa isang ambulansya daw, ilan po ang normal na sakay?
Di pa ako nasakay ng ambulansya. Siyempre, yung driver, nasa driver's seat. No? Pag walang driver,
Investigation daw po kasi yan.
Ha? Ano yan, sir?
Investigation din kasi yan, di ba? Data science din.
Yes. Tapos, yung parang isang, nurse, no? Parang yung isang nurse na mag-a-assist sa loob. Isang magbibigay ng first aid. Tapos, yung isa parang helper na magkatabi ng driver. Ayan po.
Opo. Sir Buddy, ano po ang sagot? Ilan po ang sakay, Sir Buddy?
Pili ka 100, Sir Joel. Ilan ba?
100, Sir Tony.
Ha? Talaga?
Oo.
Paano nangyari yun?
Kasi 50-50 yung sakay eh. 50-50 yung sakay.
Okay.
Anyway, maraming salamat, Mr. Torres, and congratulations na itawid natin tong The World by the Numbers Part 1. No? Sa mga participants, I hope nag-enjoy kayo. And yung mga nanalo, paki-screenshot nga natin, Sir Torres, kung sino yung nanalo. No?
Yes po.
Hindi ko nakita kung sino yung mga nanalo later.
Hindi ko ma-screenshot time kasi nagpe-present ako.
Balikan na lang natin mamaya kung sino yung sa recorded video kung sino nanalo. Anyway, Sir Buddy, itong The World by the Numbers is basically a series adaptation ng Casio Italia. Ito sa phenomenon sa Italy. Ang ginawa ng Casio Italia, inikot nila yung buong Italy to present it sa mga teachers. It was very successful. And we're also planning to do so. Kaya nga, sabi ko nga, kung may mga teachers na gustong sumali dun sa ganyang write-ups, kung meron kayong mga materials na about mystery, about crimes, pwede yung i-share sa amin. Tapos let's talk about it para magkaroon tayo ng localized. Kasi di ba syempre mas maganda yung parang Cardo Dalisay, yung mga dating na gano'n eh. One tabad, yung mga ganung banat. Mas localized, natural tatawag nga. So congratulations Mr. Torres, and sa part 2 abangan natin ulit yung mga tricks ni Sir Torres. Sir Tony, yung pala yun, no? May mga connection yung mga paa-paa at saka yung mga arms limbs pala.
Yes po. Kasi Meron pong proportion po pati po yung sukat, yung placement ng mata, tsaka po ng bibig, tsaka ng ilong sa mukha, meron po yung proportion na sinusunod.
Kaya now I wonder, kasi nung college ako, way back college, ang daming sumusukat ng paa ko. Hindi ko alam bakit. I really don't have any
Joke lang
idea
naman
kung
'to,
bakit.
joke lang naman 'to. Kasi tina-try kung gaano ka raw
Anyway,
ay sorry.
that's the reality pala. No?
Yes po.
Anyway, Sir Buddy,
Yeah.
meron tayong mga special guest na in-invite, no?
Yes,
Na
sir.
to spice up the discussion. No? Hindi alam ni
Yeah.
Mr. Torres to.
Hindi nga,
Yes,
wala akong
muna na
idea.
natin. Okay, so for our first guest this morning, let us welcome our Senior Education Program Specialist from Teaching and Learning Division, Bureau of Learning Delivery, DepEd Central Office. Let's all welcome Mr. Mark Timothy Manawis. Hopefully, correct yung pag-pronounce ko. Hello, Sir Mark Timothy.
Hello, good morning.
Morning,
Good
Hello,
sir.
morning, Sir
sir.
Warren.
Okay, ang galing ni first I would like to recommend tama ba Torres?
Yes po.
Guys po. Okay, sino si Jill yung basa kanina? Narinig. Okay, so from Tanejeros National High School po, tama po, sir.
Po, sir.
Okay. So first, I would like to recommend you for siyempre ang mathematical models talaga. Naging part din ako ng training ng MTOP. Isa sa mga training ng MTOP is mathematical investigation and mathematical modeling. No? So it's very nice that the way you presented it step by step. And then there is yung may mga questions lang ako, no, at saka suggestions. So before I proceed to the questions, is I would like to have the suggestions, no. Yung allowing as part of our K to 12 curriculum, we should be allowing the learners to be using the constructivist approach. So sa pag-integrate ng technology, napakahalaga ng constructivist approach kasi yun yung nasa RA 91 hindi sa RA natin. Okay. Na kung saan na dapat constructivism yung approach natin sa paggamit ng integration. So, and then the four C's of the 21st century skills. So, syempre hindi mo may illustrate 'yan pagdating sa sa ganitong seminar or sa ganitong webinar. So, pero yun yung magiging suggestion. At nabanggit na rin ni Sir ako ni Sir Joel, okay, yung tungkol sa localization. So it's very nice to localize it kasi may hirapan ang mga bata na maintindihan. But always remember that napakahalaga yung localization before globalization. So from localization, so para maintindihan nila, then pwede na natin ipasok yun sa globalized perspective. Then also, napakaganda po ng forensic science dahil na pagdating sa we have seen that in Singapore that one of the collaboration of the teachers to do or one of their clubs extra time or extra subject na ina-add nila kasi meron silang dinadagdag na isang subject is a collaborative approach where teachers help each other in a specific interest ng mga students and one of which is forensic science. Yung collaboration ng 'di ba nakita mo yung mga information, yan papasok si English. And then so yung meron collaboration dyan. Tapos may science which is the droplets kaya yung pumasok yung physics or yung science doon. Okay, yung paggamit ni ether, okay, hindi si ether na pero yung paggamit ng ether para mahimatay sila o mahilo, okay? So yun yung mga paggamit na gano'n. Kaya it is also a precaution for students na hindi basta lang happy ng ether. 'Di ba yung mga interested yung mga bata no? So sobra nilang active, no? Okay. So the question would be, how would you, what would be the things that you recommend for the teachers when preparing for integrating the ClassWiz or the software from Casio? That's the first question. Okay. And then the second question, what would be your advice to those teachers with little or no experience in presenting a mathematical model? Unlike you, syempre magaling ka na, mga experts ka kayo, no? In the normal curve of expertise in teaching, meron lang tayong a few, mga 20% or less. Pero most of our teachers are not 100% capable of that. And kung tutulungan tayo ni Sir Joel, baka maging 100% yun. Okay, so that's the second question. And then the last question, okay, how would you demonstrate, okay, this for lower sections or the average students? Okay, into mathematical models because it is something interesting, analytical. Pero ang syempre ang you know that you are in the public sector, in the public school system, you know what type of students we have.
Yeah.
So how would we demonstrate, and what would be the approach or your suggestions to the approach on helping those students who are not first mathematically inclined and other disabilities that they have and other factors na of average students would encounter, 'di ba? Okay, thank you sir. Please, yun lang po yung
Returning po
question.
dun sa first question ni sir, paano daw po siya, ano yun? Paano po siya ma-integrate po? Ano po ba?
Preparation of teachers for integrating.
So, first po, on my part, yung share ko po yung experience ko. Siyempre po nung at first, hindi ko pa masyadong kabisado yung functions ni technology kahit po yung, for example, kahit po yung sa cellphone na app or kahit po na sa application or software sa bagong software application sa laptop, mga ganun po. At first, hindi ko po talaga siya alam pa. So, ang alam ko lang is yung parang knowledge po dun sa subject matter na ituturo ko. So ang ginawa ko po is inaral ko po yung functions, no, yung mga features ni, for example, ni ClassWiz. Inaral ko po siya, and then from there, inisip ko na po paano ko ipapasok yung mga lessons dun sa features na merong available si ClassWiz. For example po, I wanted to observe po yung behaviors ng exponents when multiplying monomials with the same base. So, kung meron po gano'n na topic, meron pong feature si ClassWiz na yung prime factorization. So, from there, kung ma-observe po ng bata, for example, 2 cubed times 2 squared, ang lalabas kasi kay ClassWiz is 32. And when you use the prime factorization, magiging 2 raised to the 5th power siya. And then, from there, tatanungin ko po yung mga estudyante, what do you observe about the bases? Sir, they all have the same bases, which is 2. And then, what happened to the exponents? So, it's somewhat like, na-add po yung exponents kasi 2 and 3, and then, the exponent of the result is 5. So, parang in-add po yung 2 and 3, and then you have 5. So, parang ganun po. So, from there po, so, mako-construct po yung idea ng bata na when you are multiplying monomials with the same base, you just add the exponent. So, parang ganun po siya. So, that's the first thing I did po na I somehow mas-share ko sa mga teachers is to really study first ng features kahit ano pong available na gadgets that you will have. No? So, kung ClassWiz po, meron sila, aralin po nila yung features ni ClassWiz para alam po nila when is the perfect timing kung kailan ipapasok si technology in introducing a topic even during mga activities po, just like this po, yung pinresent ko na activity kanina. Kasi yung activities po na present ko kanina, hindi po siya for introducing topics. So parang mga exercises na po siya during na i-lesson na yung mga competencies that they should have. So yun po. But kasi po ako po talaga naniniwala, katulad ko rin sabi yung constructivism approach po talaga. So kung si teacher po talaga rounded po talaga siya in terms of technology and of course knowledgeable talaga siya dun sa topic na dapat niya i-discuss, mahahalo niya po yun maiisip niya po talaga kung kailan niya papasok. Now, leading po dun sa second question niyo, sir, paano po kung hindi po talaga ako ganun belong dun sa upper 20%, no? Meron po ako teachers, no, na share for experience na hindi ko na banggitin yung pangalan, syempre nakakaya.
Syempre, wag na.
Opo. Ang ginagawa niya po kasi dahil season teacher na siya, no. Syempre pag mga season teacher medyo takot sa technology. So ang ginagawa po namin sa kanya is meron po siyang kabady talaga. Banggitin ko na po yung kabady niya, siya yung tumutulong. Ay Ma'am Jopay Argiles, ayan. Siya po yung kabady-body niya na talagang ina-assist siya kapag meron kaming mga training regarding po sa technology integrations. Yun po. So, every time na may tanong siya, no, pwedeng magtanong sa amin or sa kabady niya regarding how to use the technology. Ganun po. So, ang motto po namin sa department po namin, sa school namin, huwag mahihiyang magtanong. Hindi po ako nagpo-promote ng brand ng gamot. No? Pero yun po yung laging sinasabi namin kasi ang motto namin, huwag mahihiyang magtanong kasi mas nakakatakot magturo ng mali.
Okay.
So, yun po siya. Kaya po yun, nagtatanungan po kami. So, yung PLC po sa amin, no, is lagi pong evident. Professional learning community, no, lagi po kami nagpi-PLC. Within the grade level, sometimes, no, nagko-cross levels din po kami para po we could talk po, no, we could share kung ano yung mga magagandang bagay na pwede po namin na maibahagi din sa isa't isa. Yun po. And yung last question niyo, sir, ano nga po ulit yung last question? Nakalimutan ko po, sir.
How would you demonstrate your lesson for normal or average learners?
Yun po, napaka-importante po niyan kasi naghahawak po ako ng extreme sections, no. Sa 15 years po na nagturo po ako sa government po, no, sa public schools, lagi pong extremes ang hawak ko. I've been handling section 23 and then section 1, ganun po. So syempre, alam po natin, iba-iba po ang capacity niyan. I always say sa lahat po ng seminar po na kinoconduct ko, the teacher is the manager of the classroom. He should know the abilities ng students kasi iba-iba yung abilities niya. No? Ang lesson plan, maaaring generic siya for all, pero yung approach, sa pinaka-approach, when you face the students, maiiba pa rin talaga. Kasi at different sections, different levels. Kung for example, sa section 1, for example, yung activity po na pinresent ko, onting paliwanag ng directions lang yung ibibigay mo. But when you go to the sa yung medyo nasa laylayan ng sections, yun po yung mas kailangan ng gabay. So talagang uunti-untiin po na explanation. Mas kailangan nyo pong mag-ikot-ikot kung naka-group po talaga sila to give assistance. And then somehow, kung dun sa higher section, present mo, ito yung process, blah, 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 and then magmo-monitor ka na. Sa lower sections, as in talagang hihimay-himayin mo pa rin po. Although you have there the directions in the activity sheets, what will be done, you still need to supervise those students. Para kung sama may mag-pop up na question na, sir, paano po ulit ito? You can still give directions to the students. So, importante po talaga ang teachers. Ngayon pong hindi po tayo face-to-face, ako po kasi I've been handling hybrid po na classes. So, ibig sabihin, nagmo-module po sila and then they can reach me through messenger, o through chat, ganyan po, or through text messaging. So, medyo mahirap po magbigay ng assistance. But somehow, no, nagbibigay pa rin po tayo ng feedback doon sa mga estudyante kung paano po yung gagawin doon sa kanilang mga modules. Ayun po, sir. Sana po medyo nasagot ko yung tanong ko po.
Thank you, sir. Sana po ganyan din ang mga pananaw ng Okay. Last na, So, yung kasi, pero ngayon accepted na kasi yung retina, no? Pero ang usual noon, ang pronunciation niya is retna. Okay, nung back na mga 2010s backward. Ngayon kasi nag-evolve ang language, ina-accept na yung retina. So, pero dati kasi nagtatalo kami yan, retna lagi ang retna lang siya, silent I, retna. And then yung inintay ko talaga yung sabihin mo yung line of best fit. For raw datas talaga pag sa science, we recommend we always do the line of best fit or best fit line. Kasi yun talaga kasi wala kang raw data na makikita na 100% lalo na sa nagpo-fall na talaga pare-parehas na agad na automatic. So to determine the relationship, ginagamit talaga ng mga statistician at the same time mathematicians and scientists yung best fit line. And then overall, salamat po sa napakagandang presentation and sa yung I'm excited to be watching you or viewing your classroom. It's so exciting. And then also yung pananaw mo is very growth, yung mindset mo is a growth mindset na talagang sana ganyan na lahat ng teachers, hindi humihinto sa pag-improve ng kanilang sarili at saka pag-adapt sa new technology, lalo na ngayon in the midst of the pandemic, no, in COVID-19, no, at lalo na mahirap yung ating mga sitwasyon ngayon. Very thankful. Thank you so much, Sir Torres.
Thank you, sir. Sir Buds, naka-mute ka.
Ayan. Thank you, Sir Timothy, for that very comprehensive insights and suggestions about our topic. And talagang kakatapos lang ng Miss Universe ang mga tanong ni Sir, parang nabigla si Sir Taki. Pero talagang ready si Sir Taki at si Sir Reynaldo. At talagang napakaganda ng kanyang explanation about this topic. And alam ko yung iba sa atin, naglo-look forward na sila sa ating part 2. Pero bago tayo mag-proceed sa ating part 2, let's have our next guest teacher, a teacher from DepEd Taguig Pateros Division, a co-MTAP scholar of Mr. Reynaldo Torres. Let's all welcome Teacher Nali Malvarosa. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon sa inyo pong lahat, Sir Buds, Sir Timothy, Sir Tony, and Sir Joel. Hello po. Ayan, so nakakatuwa po itong ating webinar series na ito kasi personally ang ano, na-appreciate ko talaga siya kasi actually mahilig ako sa mga sa mga Sherlock Holmes type na mga problems. Kasi nung high school ako, mahilig talaga ako magbasa ng mga Sherlock Holmes. And napansin ko yung mga present na problem, talagang ma-engage ka na i-try mong isolve. Tapos, ang kagandahan nito, with the use of Casio, ClassWiz, talagang ang engaging niya, especially na from gathering the data, yung mga information, yung mga clues, and then yung kung paano mo siya isosolve at ipe-present. Napakaganda at na-appreciate ko talaga yung mga graphs talaga kasi as in may visual representation kasi may mga bata tayo na talagang more on visuals, 'di ba? Mas na-appreciate nila kapag naka-present talaga sa kanila. So ang ganda. Congratulations, Sir Tony, and looking forward sa part 2, aabangan ko talaga 'yan kasi gusto ko siyang gamitin sa rin. Kasi ngayon 'di ba meron na tayong assessment ngayon sa setup kasi natin ngayon, yung performance task na tinatawag nga nila, na pwede mo tong i-adapt eh. Actually, yung tama nga rin yung nabanggit ni Sir Timothy na pwede mo siyang i-localize, no? I-modify mo lang siya tapos tsaka mo i-input or integrate yung mga concepts. So, kagaya nung isang beses na ginawa ko kasi yung na-handle kong mga estudyante, mga regular students, hindi talaga sila masyadong mga grade 7, may hawak akong grade 7, grade 8. So yun, ang topic kasi namin, operations on integers. Pag nagpe-present ka na ng mga rules, hindi nila masyadong na-appreciate. Pero nung ginamit, sabi ko, tingnan nyo itong nasa calculator. Try natin yung mga examples. So, kasi dinownload ko yung ClassWiz Emulator. Talagang, ay, ganun pala yun, ma'am. Ang galing pala. Also, kahit gumagamit kayo ng calculator, hindi ibig sabihin na ang target mo lang is makuha yung answers, but also yung concept, kailangan ma-build natin. Kasi itong mga concepts na to sa grade 7, ma-apply niyan kasi spiral yung curriculum natin. Ma-apply mo siya sa grade 8, sa grade 9, up to mag-high school or college ka. Kaya kung gusto kasi nila na walang math daw di ba, Sir Tony, yung mga gusto ng mga bata. Ano po bang mga courses ang walang math? Sabi ko, wala kayong mahahanap na gano'n kasi may math lahat ng mga courses. So kahit hindi siya gano'n katulad ng mga calculus type na mga talagang mas advanced or mga talagang may complex na yung mga topics, at least may mga basic math pa rin. So wala pa rin kawala. Ayun. So ang ganda ang ganda at gusto ko siyang i-try talaga doon sa performance task kasi nagpaplano na ako na gumawa ng performance task. Actually sa school namin, ayan, ma-share ko lang din na share kami ng mga best practices na rin na ginagawa namin kasi lalo ngayon pag online learning, 'di ba? Kailangan talaga makapag-integrate tayo. So hindi lang basta may PowerPoint presentation, okay na siya. Pero maganda rin yun na may ini-integrate pa tayong other software or applications na pwede natin gamitin para dun sa specific na lesson natin. Kaya ganda po. Sir Joel, aabangan ko yung second ano nyo yung part 2. Kailangan,
baka
ano
sa
yan.
Pasko naman.
Ayun, congratulations po. And ayun, salamat Sir Tony sa pag-share ng iyong grabe, talagang nakakatuwa kasi yung tinatry ko talaga siyang i-solve kasi ginagamitan ko na siya kanina ng calculator, yung mga regression. Ayan, kaya kailangan talaga i-attenan natin itong mga type ng mga webinars kasi natututo tayo paano natin siya i-share sa ating estudyante kung hindi natin alam mismo sa ating sarili kung paano siya gamitin. So with that, talagang ang dami ko natutunan. Tinatry ko i-solve kanina, muntik na akong makalusot dun sa nakalimutan ko yung clue, hindi ko nabalikan yung question, yung kailangan pala whole number yung kanina dun sa may killer. Gusto ko yan kasi mga Sherlock Holmes type, yung mga talagang maganda, engaging siya. I'm sure magugustuhan ng mga bata. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you, Sir Nali. Talagang yung mga teachers talaga natin here sa ating webinar sa Casio, talagang hindi lang sila mga basta math teacher, talagang very mga awardee, kundi man mga awardee is recipient ng mga scholarship grants, and ibig sabihin lang yan, there's a culture of excellence sa Casio Tech webinar session. Siyempre, sa pangunguna yan ng ating educational unit head, Mr. Joel Serrano.
Yes.
And at this point, siguro, Sir Joel, done na tayo sa ating dalawang guest this morning. Siguro let's have our last few words and messages from our guests. Let's start with Ma'am Nali. Ma'am Nali, any last words?
Ayun, so thank you so much pala, by the way, kay Sir Joel. Thank you sa pag-invite sa akin to be part nitong webinar series kasi naka-engaging and at the same time. Tapos Sir Tony, ayun, looking forward sa susunod na mga webinars. And gusto ko lang siguro i-share ko lang yung favorite quote ko by Archimedes. So sabi niya, mathematics reveals its secrets only to those who approach it with pure love for its own beauty. So, yun yung isa sa mga paborito kong mga math quotations. Yan. Thank you. Salamat po sa Casio.
Ayan. Thank you, Ma'am Nali. And at this point, let's have Mr. Reynaldo Torres.
Hello po. I hope you really learned po sa today's session and see you again sa part 2. God bless. Stay safe.
Thank you, Sir Ray. And let's have Sir Joel Serrano. Sir Joel.
Ay, yun. Ang sa akin lang, see you again next episode. Pamnali, Malbarosa, maraming salamat sa pag-guest and
Thank you po.
Sir Mark, Timothy Manawis. Mga mababait yan, mga kaibigan natin sa academe. Ano ba sasabihin ko? Let me spill the bean, no? Siguro, yung mga teachers na math teachers na kung gusto nyo ng challenge, abangan nyo yung aming Casio Math Competition for Teachers online edition. So malapit na yan. So we're just finalizing some, mechanics. We will let you know dito din sa ETU. Maraming salamat and see you again next week. If you need yung mga special software namin, you can just simply visit edu.casio.com to download the emulators. And if you want to have our calculators, you can go and visit our Facebook page. It's CasioCalculatorsPhilippines.com. Yung mga available information doon. And we'll be ready to. So maraming salamat, Sir Buddy. So Sir Mark C, maraming salamat. Yun lang from me today. Thank you.
Ayan. Again, thank you very much to our speaker this morning, Sir Ray Torres, our guest, Ma'am Nali, and our Casio Educational Unit Head, Sir Joel Serrano. And I think hindi pa natapos ang ating araw on this particular session because later this afternoon at 3 p.m., we'll be having another webinar with Engineer JD. Yan, medyo maganda rin yan. And iba na naman ang ataking gagawin ni Sir JD sa atin mamayang hapon. And again, thank you, Sir Ray, Ma'am Nali, and Sir Joel Serrano. Ayan, that concludes our Casio webinar session this morning. And to get to know more about Casio calculators, you can visit their Facebook page, Casio Calculators Philippines, and to download all the emulators and other softwares na pwede nating magamit, pwede kayo pumunta sa kanilang site. It's edu.casio.com, and then you will see a lot of emulators na pwede nyo i-download for free, and magagamit natin siya in delivering distance learning to our students. And tulad na sinabi ko, this will not be the last. Later on, we'll be having another session with Engineer JD, and hopefully, you will join us again sa ating afternoon session. And again, tulad na sinasabi ko, nagsimula na ang klase, tuloy-tuloy na tayong mga teachers sa ating sinumpang tungkulin na magbigay ng quality education to our learners. And as part of the Department of Education, let us heal as one, let us work as one, let us teach as one, dahil sama-sama tayo sa pagsulong ng edukalidad sa ating bansa. Muli, my name is Mr. Salvador Malansala, and kita-kits po ulit tayo mamaya sa ating afternoon session with Engineer JD.